Hey, this is Augie, Augie's Locker Room. When you come to the store, you're going to see things that you've probably never seen before unless you've been to a museum. Great items that go back to the Rockney era to the present. Website, augieslockerroom.com. Visit us here or the website.
Prister, Tim O'Malley, outside Notre Dame Stadium. Notre Dame scrimmaged, actually the last real contact of the preseason, according to Marcus Freeman. Tim, let's start with the injuries. Jarrett Patterson, beginning with him.
Yeah, it's good news that 10 days of rest, he said, approximately that. Then it becomes pain tolerance. That would allow him to possibly play against Ohio State. Freeman did begin the press conference by saying he's questionable for Ohio State, which makes sense. Now it'll be pain tolerance, sprained foot. Anybody on the line is going to be able to jump right in and play after having to sit out 10 days of camp. It would be Jarrett Patterson. As you've written in the past, he's a fast healer, and he told Coach Freeman he felt good today. But I think certainly precaution is going to be they're going to go those 7 to 10 days where he should not do much. You got to try to get him out there for Ohio State, and maybe he doesn't have to be out there for another game. It's tough to say. We always say that. That's not usually how it works, but that might be an ideal situation for Patterson.
He's listed as questionable. I'm doubting it very much that he plays against Ohio State, but that's one player. Jaden Thomas, still bothered by a hamstring injury. He should be back soon. I asked specifically about Logan Diggs when he would take contact, and he definitively stated next week. So that would give him a full week of we're talking about how much contact they have, but he'll be full go in a blue jersey.
Well, yeah, we talked to Coach McCauley yesterday and kind of asked him the same thing. He said, I don't have his timetable. That's up to the coaches and trainers, but he's not taking his first contact at Ohio State. So this is good news. He's like, we're not throwing him out there if he hasn't. They're going to have to hit Logan Diggs. Now, it's not tackle to the ground anymore, Coach Freeman said, but they're obviously going to have to hit Diggs. They're going to have to hit some of these guys to get them prepared. It's interesting. He said, we go hard because it's the only way we can be ready for the season. If for some time we don't have to go hard to be ready for the season, we won't. But this year I think it was a very physical camp and a lot of ones versus ones, he mentioned.
A 90-play scrimmage, about 30 of those with the ones, and then mixing in the twos and threes after that. There was one turnover, which meant that the offense won the day. He was asked specifically what the turnover was, and he honestly answered that it was Tyler Buckner rolling to his right, throwing back against his body, which, as we all know, is something that you really don't want to do.
And the guy that we saw make the most plays in the spring and early in camp, Tariq Bracy, was the guy that picked it off. So you are going to have Bracy, Hart, and Lewis as your three-man rotation at Ohio State because that's where the trust comes in. You think Jaden Mickey's probably going to work in a nickel packages because we always see him in there, but Tariq Bracy's the starting nickel too. I think once we talk to Mickens, we can start to see how this nickel package will come together with Jaden Mickey, but it's clear they trust those three going in.
Andrew Kristofic, Rocco Spindler contending for that left guard spot if Jarrett Patterson isn't ready to go. I'm sure that's going to be Kristofic that ends up winning that job with the previous experience. Xavier Watts wearing 2 jerseys today, playing a little bit of offense and defense, which is a very unselfish thing on his part. In the blue jersey on offense, wearing number 26. On defense at safety, getting some reps wearing number 4.
And I think that's great news for him because he was making strides, we think, at safety. He's certainly going to be heavily involved in special teams. He prepared all offseason for it. They desperately need him a wide receiver, and he's a team player. It works great. But, I still think he will make more plays in special teams than he will at wide receiver this year. They need bodies. They need Joe Wilkins to stay healthy. Got to get Colsey back. We have to ask about Colsey. We did not get a chance to ask about Colsey today with the lack of follow-up questions. And then he did say Jaden Thomas was a grade 1. So hopefully Xavier Watts can get some time back with the defensive backs.
Right. Tobias Merriweather, a guy that has continued to show out since he got here in June, he singled him out. He was asked about him, but he said he made several plays today, and he's confident that he's going to play a significant role for Notre Dame this year. A couple positions on special teams. Brandon Joseph is the top punt returner. Blake Grupe is the top kicker, and he said he had a 53-yard field goal today. A make and a miss from 53.
I was going to say he had both, but you know what? If he's going to make half of his 53-yard field goals, that's fine for Blake Grupe too, as long as he's hitting the 43-yard field goals and less. And then he believes John Sott has been taking most of the punting with the ones. I assume they're going to settle on Grupe. There is no way he's going to – if he said Brandon Joseph is the number 1 punt returner today, it's not going to be somebody else against Ohio State. They're going to trust Brandon Joseph to do that. But, of course, that's something that can be fluid as the season goes along.
We expected that or suspected that all along. Last thing, a couple of freshmen. He was asked about tight ends, Holden Stays and Eli Raridan. We've all been very impressed with what we've seen from them. Marcus Freeman flat out stated today that they're going to play this year. Maybe not so much at Ohio State, but as the season progresses, we're going to see those young tight ends mixed in there with Michael Mayer and the others. That's it today from Notre Dame Stadium. This has been Irish Illustrated's Instant Analysis.